Okay, so this is the panel that I'm going to stitch onto. I have pressed it before starting this, as I have the back panel as well. I don't press the wadding. That should be absolutely fine. There shouldn't be a need to do that. Okay, now what's the first thing that we're going to need to think about? Now the first thing is actually what the construction of this panel is. So this is called a sandwich. It's a sandwich in that it's got 3 layers. You can, if you want to, actually do this without wadding, and so if you've got 2 layers, it can be called a coverlet rather than a quilt, which can be really nice. I actually quite like also working without wadding and without a cotton backing. I quite like working with a panel, and just particularly if I'm wanting to do something smaller and I'm recycling, I might use a sweatshirt fabric as the backing. So that gives me a little bit of a loft to this, so a little bit of thickness, which is really nice. So how do we lay this out? So in your pack you've got a backing fabric. So we've got some white fabric, very cleverly laid out on a white background, so you'll have to trust me, that's there's the corners. Okay, then we've got, so that will be the biggest panel, so this is our back. We then lay out our wadding onto here. Okay, and what you want to do is put that in the centre. So I have cut these specifically so the backing is the biggest, the next largest piece is the wadding, and then the smallest piece is actually the front panel. And the reason why in quilting we have them at different sizes is because often once we are doing this sewing, whether that's on a sewing machine or hand sewing, particularly if you're going to do this quite heavily, then what will happen is it can start to pull in the backing and the wadding, and what we don't want to do necessarily is waste any of our front panel. So what we want to do is everything else can shrink to that, and then when we cut this down so that we can add our binding, then we will have made the most of this. Because if this was cut the same size and the backing started, or the wadding started to pull in, we would have to cut more of our front panel away. So that's the sandwich. What we're going to look at in the next video are what's called basting techniques. I'm going to show you a hand basting technique with stitch, but there are other ways in which you can do it. So let's get on to the next video.